Hello and welcome back to One Idjit's Thoughts on Podcast. I'm Paul Mackey and this is another of my same-day write and record shows. Not a lot happened today, so I'm just going to get straight into Gravity Falls Season 2, Episode 2, Into the Bunker, originally aired August 4th of 2014. A brief summary. Dipper, Mabel, Seuss, and Wendy go on an adventure to seek out the lost bunker of the author of the journal. We first saw it during the last episode briefly when they were showing black light pages, and now it comes up again. They go down and into a fallout shelter that seems old and abandoned, yet has a freshly opened can within. Wendy finds a secret passage, and when they step on a pressure switch, they're confronted with a crushing, deadly puzzle room, and are only able to escape due to Dipper's speedy interpretation of the journal. Mabel sees that Dipper is torn about letting Wendy know how he feels and traps Dipper and Wendy inside a closet to force the conversation. Inside, Wendy finds another passageway to a secret lab. They are confronted by a dark creature but saved by the apparent author of the journal. As the old man revels in the wonders of the journal, Wendy realizes the old man is the same character as Baron Num-Nums on the can of beans. And it's true, he's actually the shapeshifter. After they are reunited with Mabel and Seuss, they all team up to wash the shapeshifter away with water, but the plan is delayed when the water does not immediately surge forth. The shapeshifter grabs the journal again, and Wendy goes to stop him, but both are swept up, and Wendy is dashed against a rock. As the water recedes, Dipper finds Wendy's lifeless form and blurts out that he shouldn't have been afraid and that he loves her, but then Wendy says, Dipper, from beside him, and it turns out the unconscious form is actually the shapeshifter, lying in wait. Wendy and Shifter Wendy battle for the journal, while Dipper holds Wendy's axe. Dipper, unsure what to do, asks the real Wendy to give a sign. One of them winks and smiles, and the other mimes the closed, locked mouth, and he realizes the winker is the shifter, and chops the axe into the creature. They manage to direct its line of attack so the shifter is flung into a cryo chamber, and before freezing completely, says Dipper will never find the author, and if he keeps digging, he will meet a worse fate. The shifter then transforms into a screaming Dipper and freezes completely. Afterwards, Dipper tries to backpedal on his declaration of love, but Wendy says she'd known all along. But she is too old for him, and she has had lots of fun being Dipper's friend. Dipper worries things will be awkward, but she says wrestling her own self was awkward, and they agree to friendship, though Dipper still has a bit of a look of longing. Mabel and Seuss approach after Wendy leaves, having heard everything. Mabel says she has a whole list of potential candidates for Dipper's next crush. Seuss laments not finding the author, but shows off the lab coat and briefcase that he had held on to. Dipper realizes the briefcase is actually an old broken laptop with a property of F label on it, and they marvel at the potential information it might hold. Very cartoonish. I probably should have mentioned this long ago, but Dipper has some kind of vest of holding. The journal is not small, and yet it can apparently be stored on his person and out of sight for long periods of time. Is that okay? Well, the grotesqueness of the monster this week, like the zombies last week, feels a little bit out of place on the Disney Channel, perhaps. A favorite line...
The only monsters are your own inner demons, Dipper.
That is so wise.
Who Is? We'll be back with Who Is sometime during this week. I was going to joke that there was some kind of cheesy 1970s sci-fi guy doing the voice of the shapeshifter, but in case that villain is permanently defeated, I suppose I should more respectfully say that it was Mark Hamill doing some of his classic voice acting work. And if you need additional bio on Mark Hamill, I politely suggest you can probably find it yourself pretty easily. So what worked? Well, it's clear that Wendy is a badass, and I think it's really interesting the show can make you sympathize with Dipper so much. Even though it's spelled out that she is too old for him, and he more or less accepts it, I still, along with Dipper I think, somehow hopelessly want there to be some way for them to work out. I also appreciated the switch-up where the grizzled adventurer turns out to be the shapeshifter bean mascot. What didn't? I can honestly say I don't think that I have much of a low point to this episode that I can see. Things to ponder. The shapeshifter said the author was six-fingered, so is that 6 fingers on one hand or a general deficit of 4 fingers? And next time is Gravity Falls Season 2, Episode 3, The Gulf War. Happy hunting! You've been listening to the One Idjit's Thoughts On podcast, produced by Paul Mackey in association with Nimlas Studios. Any short clips of audio from shows is included under fair use for commentary purposes, and copyright for that content remains with its original copyright holders. The theme song is Too Good by Jack Mangan and is used by his generous permission. One Idjit's Thoughts is produced under a Creative Commons Attribution, Non-Commercial, No Derivatives 4.0 International License. You can find more episodes of this podcast and many other fine podcasts at nimlas.org. You can contact me by emailing idjitcastpodcast@gmail.com or commenting on episodes at nimlas.org.
Let's make your own memories.
Okay, so you're standing in a fallout shelter and asking what kind of disaster would need long-term provisions?